Hi, hello. I am so excited to have you here with me today because we are doing a Q&A. I thought it was time that you got to know me a little bit better, and if you're new here and you don't know me, this is a great place to start because hi, hello, my name is Ev, and on this channel I like to talk all about knitting, spinning, and fiber related content. Now, in order to make this a little bit more fun, I actually brought along a little project with me that I'm going to be knitting on while I answer some of your questions. These questions were mainly brought over from Instagram, but I did also put a message here on YouTube a couple days ago asking you guys if you had any particular questions for me that you would like to know a little bit more about. Before I get into the questions though, I just want to say this little contraption is genius. It's like one of my favorite acquisitions of the year. It's so simple. It's a little fabric case for your DPN needles. Yes, this is a sock. A little fabric case with two little clasps that holds your needles in place. So let's say you want to take your project with you. You're not going to have needles pointing around everywhere, stabbing you. And because they're all kind of kept together, there's less chance of them breaking. And on top of it, your stitches don't fall off your needle. Simple, genius, I love it. I got it in Montreal at one of the yarn shops there. What I'm making today is actually the second one of this sock. So this is just like a self-drafted rib sock that I came up with, and I really like it. It's super thick and cozy and going to be perfect for the fall/winter because this is an alpaca, it's wool and alpaca mix with a little bit of polyamide as a typical sock yarn base normally has. 2x2 rib all around the cuff, stockinette the heel and the foot base. But where I thought was really fun was the rib actually goes all the way till the tip of your toesies, and it's the 2x2 following all the way through, but on the side it's a 1x1 rib. It changes. It's a little bit more of a detailing till the tip of the toe, and it kind of really splits the front and the back of the foot, and this kind of makes me think of the mittens, the Scandinavian mittens that I knit up, where there was like a very clear defining edge all around. Anyways, I really like this sock, and I'm gonna be knitting a second one in this video. Now let's see if I can actually knit and talk, because I feel like my brain, if I do one thing, the other one stops. Either there's gonna be moments where I'm not knitting or awkward moments where I just stop talking and just focus on my knit. Whatever happens, happens. So let's get right into the questions. When did you start knitting? Your knits are so beautiful. Well, thank you. I started knitting, it was during COVID. My work was running low on work because COVID production and like movie filming kind of almost came to a halt. So for that, I discovered YouTube and really fell in love with Typical Bliss. Here, she's also in Vancouver. But recently I feel like she's not as active, which is totally fine. You know, creativity comes in waves and goes. I'm sure she's busy with her own something else. But anyways, I really liked her videos, and she really got me into knitting. And I decided to knit that Christmas because I had so much more time on my hands. Work was really low. I had so much time on my hands that I actually decided to knit my parents, my brother, and my sister hats and scarves for Christmas. I went to like a local sewing store. They had yarn in the back, and I bought knitting needles from them, really the metal, not the good metal needles, but like the really cheap ones, and I bought acrylic yarn, and I made them matching hats and scarves. Looking back, those are the ugliest things I've ever made in my life, but those projects is what kind of got me into knitting. I don't have any photos of them. I don't want to see them. I don't want photos of them. And since moving to Vancouver, I have never seen them. So if they don't wear them, I do not blame them. I should probably redo that as a gift one year. Remake them all hats and scarves. That would be really nice. But essentially, that's kind of what got me into knitting. COVID and being bored at home and not having any hobbies. Do you remember your first knit project ever? As for myself though, my first knit project was actually a sweater. I found a website online where you could put your body measurements and it would write you up a pattern. And I didn't know anything about knitting. I didn't know anything about gauge. I didn't know anything about like fiber content or fiber prep methods. So I picked an acrylic yarn that I thought was really, really pretty, and I knit myself a raglan sweater based off the instructions that website had given me. I don't even know if that website is still active or what it was, because I didn't know about gauge and I didn't know about acrylic not being a breathable fiber. It was a super tight, super sweaty, warm, gross sweater that I never wore. I have it in my storage somewhere and I keep it just as a kind of memory because I can't wear it. There's no point to giving that away. No one's gonna wear it. It's kind of cute. And I do have a picture I'm gonna put, but that was my first official knit for myself ever. And that was probably my first like actual project. Yeah. After the hats and scarves, basically. That was a project that I started in Montreal and I finished right when I moved here before actually getting into knitting and starting to buy yarn online, going to yarn shops and discovering this whole fiber community. That is also the first project that I ever posted on my knitting Instagram, because my knitting Instagram used to be painting. I started off by painting and doing digital art. So that was the first switch between the two Instagrams. How long have you lived in Vancouver, and would you ever move anywhere else to Canada? And that one kind of ties in with the next question. What brought you to Vancouver and how long ago did you come? And would also love to hear your meet cute story. Oh, okay. I moved to Vancouver probably 4 years ago, going on 5. And I actually moved here because of work. My partner is from Turkey, and he wanted to get PR because in my job, it's so much easier to get contract because I work contract based. It's so much easier to get a contract if you have permanent residency or if you are a Canadian citizen, as I am. So we moved here during COVID because we wanted a change of pace. Montreal, I don't know, it's just being locked up 24/7 in a house. I just wanted to try something new, do something new, and he didn't want to learn French. In Quebec, you have to know French to get your permanent residency, whereas in Vancouver, you don't. You just do an English test and that's it. Because he lived in Vancouver before moving to Montreal where we met, he had already done all of the paperwork for his PR. He had done half the work basically. So all of his stuff was already started in Vancouver. So it made more sense to move to Vancouver, him get his PR, and then, I don't know, we kind of just stayed here. I also was able to get my job, which is ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, which is a VFX animation studio. So I couldn't get that job in Montreal. So that also really helped the move here. As for the meet cute, we actually met, both of us, at our first VFX job in Montreal at MPC. That was why he moved to Montreal from Vancouver. He couldn't find work here. We actually met in a kind of funny story. There was someone who was leaving the company, and whenever people left the company, we would often go out either for lunch or to a bar after work and have drinks to celebrate them and just kind of say our goodbyes. The animation field is very, very small and everybody kind of knows everybody, and people often change companies. It's a very revolving door kind of job. When someone who was well known at the studio and had been there for a while left, it was his last day, we decided to all go out to lunch to kind of celebrate him and say our goodbyes. And in the end, it was supposed to be a smallish lunch at a restaurant in the Vieux-Port. There was a restaurant, I think it was called Papillon Bleu, where we used to go and have lunch a lot. So we decided to go there because we knew that they had a capacity for bigger people, like bigger groups of people. However, no one had called in or reserved. We kind of all just showed up. We were like 45 to 50 people. It was one of the biggest like goodbye lunches I've ever been to, and it was really unplanned. But because we showed up with so many people, the restaurant was like, I feel bad looking back at it, but the restaurant was not prepared. So the lunch, which should have taken an hour, ended up taking 2.5 hours. And because there were so many people, not everybody got the food at the same time. And it was just like a complete chaotic thing. So how I met him was at this lunch. The table was like a really long rectangular table. They all grouped them all together. And he actually ended up sitting across from me by chance. And because we were so many people, it took so long to get the food to everybody. It didn't all happen at the same time. Half his side of the table got their food before half of my side. It was really weird. It wasn't like in clumps. It was like, no, half the table of 50 people, 25 people got their plates. And then like half an hour later, 25 other people got their plates. And I was so hungry. I was so hungry that lunch, and it became a joke between me and him because he was eating his food and just like making jokes about how he had his food, and I was just like staring at his plate starving. And that's kind of how we met. And just from there on, we would go out to lunch at work and just kind of trying to keep it on the down low, but we weren't really good at it. And it wasn't until the Christmas party that we kind of really, I guess, started dating, and that was around December. So that's kind of how I met him, and since then we've just been glued to the hip, pretty much. Yeah, and then we started dating, and pretty much a year after that, during COVID, he moved in with me. And then a year after that, we moved to Vancouver, and we've been together pretty much ever since. Our relationship was really, it just fits. It's so easy, and the pieces really just fit really well together. We really understand each other. And I think this has probably been one of my easiest relationships, and it's the most comfortable one I've felt so far. So I'm really, really happy to have him in my life. And yeah, that's how we kind of met. Also, working together in the same companies, on the same projects has been really fun, really challenging sometimes, but really fun at the same time. Is knitting and content creation your full-time job? If so, how do you prevent a burnout? No, knitting is not my full-time job, and content creation is not, although that would be the dream. That would be really nice. How do I prevent burnout? I don't know. I've never really had a burnout. I really wouldn't wish one on anyone, and I would like not to get one. Knitting for me is kind of my preventing a burnout, I guess you could call it. It kind of started for me as a sort of way to check out of my job, relax. Well, depending on the studio and the project you're on, there is a lot of overtime, and it's an artistic job, which comes with critiquing, comes with notes, comes with a lot of redos. If a client decides they don't like something, you throw it out and restart again. So you kind of have to get used to that, have to get used to looking at other people who do amazing work and being inspired by them, but at the same time, that comes with self-critiquing, and it's just a little bit, it's a great job. It's very rewarding, but it is time consuming, and it is, a lot of people can find this a little bit, that doesn't make sense. Like, you don't make your own decisions. You do what someone else is asking you to do, which comes with stress, and sometimes you don't agree with the decisions, but you still have to do the work because they're paying you to, you know? But I say knitting is kind of like my response to not having a burnout, because I quickly realized on days where I didn't knit, where I didn't have time because of overtime, I would get excessively stressed. And knitting, spinning, it's actually what kind of calms me down and really just makes my days go smoother. It's like a moment to myself where I'm zen, I can relax, put on some music, watch something, and just kind of be myself. And it is also my own creation. It's like no one is telling me what to do. No one is telling me how to do it. I do follow patterns, but I modify patterns a lot, and I don't feel guilty about it. Knitting and fiber spinning is my no guilt, no pressure, no guilt. Things work out, things don't work out. That's probably why I'm so like, whatever happens, happens with my knits, because my job, it's very creative, but it's to someone else's asking. Tell us more about your job. I know you animate. Where did you go to school? I actually went to Dawson College, which is a college in Montreal. I did 3D animation and CGI. It's a 3-year technique. So the first year was basically just drawing, like figure life drawing, learning about like color values, learning the basics of drawing and animating in 2D. And then the second year is you learn Maya, which is the software we use to animate, mainly in studios, although now there are, there's Unreal and there are Blender. There's like different animation softwares now, but I basically just learned on Maya. And then you learn a little bit of ZBrush for modeling, 3D modeling. You learn lighting and matte painting, which is like painting backgrounds in movies, or like stitching together images for the background of a movie. Instead of a green screen, you put a matte painting. Learn how to rotoscope, but basically you learn the other parts that go with VFX and how VFX industry works and what are all the jobs. And then the third year is basically you make your own final film. The third year is you pick something you want, and you can either team up. I did it alone. Most people do it alone, and you make a final film. My final film is actually here on YouTube. It's the very first video I've ever made, and that was my final film for Dawson. It's a little ballerina movie. I didn't do the character or the modeling. That was a character I paid for, but I did model the set, the house, the buildings. I did all of the lighting. I did all of the textures, and I did the animation, the story, and I didn't do the music. That was music I found online. At the time when I was graduating, I wasn't sure if I was going to go into animation or if I was going to go into lighting, because I really like lighting. I really like pretty colors. I really like how it ties the mood of the film together. Lighting is super important and I love it. So I was really torn between the two, but one of the teachers who taught animation at Dawson was actually the head of the department at MPC, the first company I worked at, and he actually kind of poached a couple of animators to work for him. He typically did that every year. I think we were 6 or 7. I was the only one from my class, but there was another class at graduating at the same time, and he picked 6 from there. Basically, that's kind of what gave me my first job, gave me my in into the company, and I'm really grateful for him, because listening to my boyfriend's side, although he wasn't a Canadian citizen, it is so much easier to get into the field if you're a Canadian citizen, at least in Canada. It took him like a year and a half to get a job. He also needed a friend recommendation. It is a little bit difficult to get in. Once you're in and it's smooth. But if you don't have recommendation, it's a little bit tricky. There are internship programs. I know Pixar has an internship. ILM has an internship called the Jedi Academy. ILM, I don't really know much about it. I don't know anybody who's done it, but I do see the graduates. Basically, if you do well and you graduate, you will most likely get a job at that studio that you are interning at. I think Frame Store in Montreal also does internships. I had friends do it while being at Dawson. I didn't do it because I wish I had, but I don't know. I was working at Dairy Queen at that time. So my summers were just frozen ice cream. I'm not even knitting. I knew this was gonna happen. What movies have you worked on? I've actually worked on movies and TV shows. They kind of go together nowadays with the growth of Netflix, Disney Plus, Crave, all the subscription so that you have to pay, which are really annoying. I am contributing to that. If you are ever curious, it is out there, but there is an IMDb page for me, and it does get updated when I finish a project or my name is in the credit of a movie. They update it. I don't know if it's the studio. My page is there, and it does list all of the projects that I've worked on. As a few of you guys know, I've worked on Lilo and Stitch. Maybe I'll put some clips as I name them from the movies. But I actually worked on Lilo and Stitch most recently. I worked on Ultraman, which was a Netflix original movie. I did Ant-Man, Lost Ollie, which was a Netflix original TV show. That was my first ILM project. Before that, I was at Frame Store in Montreal. I worked on His Dark Materials, which was a HBO TV show. I did the first season only. I did Jingle Jangle, which was a Christmas musical for Netflix. After that, NPC, Detective Pikachu. I'm trying to think of like movies because I worked on a couple movies and my work didn't make it in the final cut, or there was director rewriting, or I changed company. Like I did work on Call of the Wild, which was a movie, but then by the time I left the company and then all my shots got taken over by other artists, so it's no longer my work. The Nutcracker movie for Netflix. Predator. That was my first project ever, and that was one that was completely rewritten. We were working on the movie, and then the movie got put on hold for 6 months. They completely rewrote the story, completely changed the characters, and all of my work was thrown away. I mean, my first 3 projects that I was on got full script rewrites. So I really quickly got used to my work. You redo it. It's fine. It's a part of the job. But if you can't handle it, this job it can get to you. But because coming out of school, those were my first 3 projects, at this point, I am totally open to rewrites, new ideas, and I'm not too fazed by it anymore. Although when it's like after 7 attempts of the same shot working over and over, it's like, just pick an idea. Pick an idea. Have you ever animated a character wearing a knit or knitting? Sadly, no. I don't even remember a time where a character was knitting in a movie. Yeah. Which countries are on your bucket list for traveling? Anywhere in Scandinavia, honestly. Ireland. I was watching Conan Must Go, and he visited Ireland in that episode on Crave, and I want to go to Ireland. I've always wanted to go to Ireland, and I want to go visit the castles and just see the sheeps. I don't know. I want to go to Ireland. Just a request to see more guinea pigs. I actually filmed them having their little breakfast this morning for you. So here you go, some little piggy clips. If you aren't familiar, the ginger one is Marco. He is a 3-year-old male, and I got him because he has the exact same name as my dad. So that's little Marco. He's very shy and is a sweetheart, but he is the most scared, skittish guinea pig I've ever owned. I don't know why. It's just how he is. So he's very loving, but he's very scared of new people. And the other one is the little baby. I got him earlier in March. He's a rescue. If you want to know more about him, there's a full-on video about his introduction, when I got him, how he became a part of my 2-pack, my little 2-pack of guinea pigs. And he is now, I got him at 6 months in March, 11 months. He's now 11 months old. Next month, he's gonna be a year. I can't believe it. My little baby has grown so much. But yeah, some little piggy ASMR now. What is your favorite thing to do while knitting, and how do you organize your yarn stash? So my favorite thing to do while knitting is probably watching TV. I have a couple TV shows that when I'm not too sure what to watch, I just put them on a loop. Gilmore Girls is the main one. I'm always watching Gilmore Girls, and it's just a constant in my life at this point. It is probably my favorite TV show ever. And it's one of those shows that, yeah, when I was having a really tough time, I would just loop it nonstop. I recently finished Lost. I had never watched it, and I watched all of it before it expired on Netflix. A nice one to watch. I do like to watch older, long haul TV shows. TV shows that I can kind of have in the background and not focus too much on. If not, I rewatch movies. Twilight, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, you know, the classics, all of the Jane Austen movies, Pride and Prejudice, Downton Abbey. I like those period pieces. I tend to often rewatch a lot of the same similar things. If not, I'm watching YouTube, and on YouTube I watch movie reviews like Mike's Mike, Dylan's in Trouble. If not, I watch a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of sewing content, a lot of thrifting content, people who paint. I watch a lot of different types of art videos. It really gets me motivated into making my own type of art content. That's probably what I watch the most of on YouTube. Cheyenne Barton, I like her drawing. Uncomfy, is it Uncomfy Co. or Uncomfy? I like her when she used to make little polymer clay art. Yeah, I watch a lot of other types of art video. Those really feed my motivation. I'd love to hear more about your path to becoming an animator and what a day-to-day looks like work-wise. So I kind of told you guys my path on how I became an animator. I work from home, and occasionally we'll go into the office when there's like an ergo, which is just like a team lunch, a team event. But my day-to-day is basically wake up, coffee. My boyfriend and I share an office, and we work the same job, but right now, most of the time we're on different projects. I think they kind of plan it that way so that they don't have couples working together. I animate on the computer in Maya, so I basically do my shots, do my notes, send it to my supervisor, and then he'll give me more notes. We'll go back and forth till he's happy with it, and then I send it to dailies. Dailies is when the CG supervisor looks at all of the takes, all of the shots, all of the versions, and then he'll give his notes. Those usually include lighting, comp, animation, textures, modeling. Those dailies can go on for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. It used to be in the theater when you're in the office. There's like a theater room, everybody goes there. But now, because half the people are at home, Google Meets, and then he'll give his notes. If he doesn't have any, it'll go straight to the client. If not, you'll do the notes, show your supervisor. It'll go back and forth till he's happy with it. And then it goes back to the CG soup till he's happy with it. And then it shows to the client. They'll give notes. And then you go back, do your notes, show your supervisor. If they're happy with it, it goes to the CG soup. And then if they're happy with it, it goes back to the client. And it's just like a continuous loop like that. Usually we have client reviews once or twice a week. CG soup is every day, but you only show when you can. And then supervisor, I'm continuously talking back and forth with my supervisor every day. Depending on how the project is, sometimes there are different clients to go through. For Lilo and Stitch, it was supervisor, CG supervisor, a board committee, then it was the client, then it went to Disney. And do you see how many like chefs there are in this kitchen? It's a lot. So a lot of notes, a lot of changes. Sometimes it can be quite frustrating just to get a version approved because it's continuous. Like basically people don't believe me, but you can work on a 2-second shot for 4 months. Like 2 seconds. I was on Lilo and Stitch for 2 years, and the first shot that I ever animated, a year and a half later, I was still working on it. It was kind of on and off, but it took that long to get it approved, which it became a joke because that was me and this other guy on my team had the longest running shots, and it became a joke to see what was going to be the actual like longest one between the two because they just weren't approving it. So it's a lot of back and forth, a lot of notes, but it's a fun job. What is your favorite yarn? Also, did you hear? That was my stomach. My favorite yarn, that's a really tough one to answer simply because I've used a different yarn for every project. I'm still new, I guess, to knitting. I think I'd be able to say which ones I don't like. Super wash wools. I don't like super wash wools. I don't like the look of them, and I don't like the feel. They kind of feel almost acrylic. There are some superwash that don't have that shiny look to it, which I'm okay with. But most superwash wools, I don't like the feeling of them. Acrylic yarn, don't like the feeling of it. It's like nails on a chalkboard and it's not fun to knit with. I try to stay away from those unless it's sock yarn. Socks, I can knit superwash wool with. And again, I'm not knitting. But I could name you my favorite like yarn brand, Noro. I love Noro yarns. They're so pretty, so pretty. From this year, I would probably say that my favorite yarns are Serrano by Deraroom or Deraroom. I'm still doing it. I don't know if it's Deraroom or Derarooma. But that, my Dagmar knit, favorite yarn. Honestly, I love it so much and I can't wait to wear it this fall. And if not, this one. This yarn it's a merino and yak combination. And I think silk. I got this in Montreal. This is my Irene Lynn Lyra tee, by the way. And I think that those two are probably my favorite yarns of this year. My favorite two like finds of this year. How do you choose your patterns? Ravelry. I don't look at Instagram too much. Instagram kind of overwhelms me just a little bit. It like gets me excited, and then the line between excitement and overwhelm is like really small for me. So Instagram sometimes can be too much stimulation, kind of puts me in a block. Whereas Ravelry, it's a little bit slower. It's a little bit harder to find things. So for me, it's not as overstimulating. I will often look at yarn in my stash and just go on Ravelry and put like, let's say it's a sport weight. I'll put sport weight, how much meterage I have, and go into the advanced like search and see what pops up. And then I'm gonna like patterns as they go along. Maybe I'll make a bundle and just kind of list patterns that way. It's the same when I'm shopping. If I see a yarn at a store that I really like, I'm just gonna go to Ravelry, put how much yarn I wanna buy, and just see what pops up. That's kind of how I find my patterns. That's kind of how I find my inspiration. I love going in yarns and seeing what other people knit. So I'll click on like, let's say it's Sadness Garden Sunday. I'll go into Ravelry, go into that yarn and go on patterns and see what people knit. And you really get an idea of what the yarn looks like. You can see all the color options and then you can see what people make with it and how it drapes, how it fits. Because these are people who post like regular people. It's not like a marketing picture or something really like picturesque. You really get an idea of what the yarn looks like and how it fits. Now this does take a lot of time. So I don't just go into a yarn shop, buy yarn and leave. I will be in there like 3-4 hours. Like I am not afraid to just stand there for all day and look around. That's really how I get my juices like flowing, and that's really how I find my patterns. I also do find inspiration on Instagram, of course. I also kind of know pattern designers that I really like. So I often on Ravelry will search them up sporadically just to see what they're up to, what's new, and just go from there. I'm also looking at what is hot right now on Ravelry. So I use Ravelry a lot. If you could knit only one pattern for the rest of your life, which one would it be? I'm always knitting different knits. So I would say, ooh, I know. The Marseille sweater by Petite Knit. I think that would be the pattern. I've already knit 2 of them. I would knit a 3rd one, but without the stripes. But I think that is my go-to sweater. It is such a lovely drape sweater, such a comfy one. It's an easy pattern. You can knit it with kind of any yarn. It's a decent yarn weight, so it knits up pretty quickly. And it's just a classic staple sweater. I would definitely say the Marseille sweater by Petite Knit. Is French your first language? Oui, le français est ma langue maternelle. Je parle français depuis que j'étais toute petite, sauf que maintenant à Vancouver, il n'y a pas beaucoup de gens qui parlent français. Je suis québécoise. For those of you who don't speak French, yes, French is my first language. I've been speaking French since I was a child. I was kind of forced to speak French at home, but moving to Vancouver, nobody really speaks French. But I do still speak French with my family. However, at work, there are a couple French people, well, French from France. So I do still speak French with them, but the Quebec French and the French, there are differences. So, but I do still use French at work, which is really nice. Would you crochet alongside your knitting? No, not really. I don't think so. I'm not a big fan of crochet. I did crochet for my last knit, and yeah. Where do you get your style inspo? I'm still searching for my style, to be frank. If you are a style person or a fashionista, please tell me, what kind of style vibe do I give off? Because I'm still searching for my style. So I'd be really curious to hear what you guys think my style fits in. I kind of go for whimsical, really girly vibes, I feel, but basically anything that makes me happy. Ever since I did my color analysis for myself, like I did it for myself, so I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but I've been really going into the spring colors because I think I'm a spring. Who is your biggest knitting inspiration? My biggest knitting inspiration? So for knitting inspirations, I don't actually have knitters that like I follow that much. I basically follow designers. So Petite Knit, Knitting, what is her name? My Favorite Things Knitwear, Kutova Kika. I actually really like her videos because I feel like she's completely different and she's doing her own thing. She doesn't like follow in with the trends, I find, and she's just kind of, yeah, doing her own thing, and I really like that for her. Junko Okamoto. I really want to knit her most recent sweater. I should. But basically, those are my inspirations, but those are pattern designers. As for knitters, I kind of follow people on Instagram and have made friends there, and those are the people I look up to the most. So they're not big named people, but they're just local people that really inspire me to knit, and I like seeing what they're up to, talking to them about their projects, and that's kind of more of my knitting inspiration, just the smaller creator, not even creators, but just regular people on Instagram. That's really what I follow. I actually have more spinning like inspiration than I do knitting, but for spinning, it's for sure Rachel Smith, Guru here on YouTube, and her videos are live, so I really need to be in the mood to watch them. I'm not big on like watching live content, but she is full of knowledge, and if you want to get into spinning, I highly recommend you check them out. Maybe skim through the videos because she does weaving as well, and she does answer questions. Andrea Mowry, I also love her videos, and she also spins a lot of, she makes nice patterns, but she spins yarn as well. Jessica Esme. She isn't a content creator. I think she had her own business in like jewelry making, but I love her spins. I love her knitting and beautiful work. Pacific Coasters, love her. She is the sweetest, and she really inspired me into supported spindle spinning. She's my support spindle. Like if I want inspiration, I look at her content and her posts. Amazing. And she's super nice, answers questions, and is always willing to help. Amazing. Melly Knits. I love her batts, love her spinning, and she basically got me into batts and hand spinning, like really got me into loving it. And that was because I met her at a fibre festival. I didn't know her before Knit City. So basically, my inspiration comes from people I've met in real life at events and like small local friends and smaller accounts. So that's kind of what the personal connection is, what really inspires me. Rolags or batt? Batt. I've actually never spun from a Rolag, so batt. Batt or braid? Batt. Thank you, Melly Knits. Favorite fiber to spin? I actually brought two of them that I really, really like. So the first one is Cormo. This was the lock, and it is the first fiber I hand carded before getting into my big card for Tour de Fleece. And this one was the softest wool I had ever felt. It had an extremely short staple length. And yeah, this was my first hand carded fiber. Definitely my favorite fiber to spin. It's super squishy and soft. I love it, and I can't wait to knit with this. I only have 195 yards because this was 90 grams to be carded, so it weighs a little bit less than that. I never weighed it again, I probably should. But yeah, it was 30 grams from a batt prepared by Melly Knits, and then 60 grams was hand carded by me, 195 yards. So I don't really know what to do with this, but I love it. Love it so much. And then the second one, which is one of my newest favorites, this was actually Bond. I love Bond, and I'm definitely hoping to get more at Knit City this year. Bond is so soft, so squishy. This is a 3-ply, and this is one that I spun in Tour de Fleece. Look at this color. I love it. I love it. I can't wait to knit with it and see what it is. I want more, and honestly, if I could get more, I could totally knit a Junko Okamoto sweater in Bond. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. What resources would you recommend for someone starting out in spinning? Why was that hard for me to read? I would recommend Yarnitecture by Jillian Moreno. I'm looking at it right there. It's a really amazing book, great resource if you want to learn to spin and need a visual representation. I say that one because there is Trust the Spindle, but if you aren't starting on a spindle, I recommend this one because this one talks about like spinning wheel and drafting and spinning on spindles. It talks about like color management. It talks about different fibers, how to prep them, and there are a couple patterns at the end of the book if you need inspiration how to start knitting with your own hand spun. And it really just gives you a good idea on when you're spinning what you're going to be knitting and how to prepare that, because depending on what you want to knit with, you might want to spin your yarn a different way. I also highly recommend Jillian Eve here on YouTube. She has a lot of videos, really helpful. I already said it, Rachel Smith, amazing teacher. She even has a Patreon that you can join, and then you get to join the Slack, and there's spinning groups online for that. I also will be linking a playlist down below just filled with videos that I found super helpful when I first started to spin wheel spinning and spindle spinning, because I started on a drop spindle but quickly went to a Turkish spindle and then have been slowly building my collection of supported spindles. Do you have any upcoming planned videos? I do. I want to make a fall winter knitting video. I want to make a Knit City video and actually make it because my flock video, we can talk a bit about that in the Knits and Babbles, but that one didn't work out as I had expected. I would also like to do continue with my fiber study. I fell a little bit behind unexpectedly, and I don't know that I'm going to catch up, but I want to keep making those. And then vlogs. Make more vlogs. Show you guys more of my day-to-day. Take you guys places more and just knit together. That's kind of what I have in store for upcoming videos. Lots of knitting. Really excited for the fall to be kicking in because knitting season is upon us. The season is near. I would love to hear more about your guinea pigs and Gus. So, can I get them both? Okay. Yes. Yes. I only have 2 guinea pigs. They're both boars and they're so cuddly. So I'm going to give them some pea flakes so they behave well. They love pea flakes, right? Yeah. So I have 2 guinea pigs. They're both male. This is Marco and this is Gus. Gus is the little baby. And I've always only had 2 guinea pigs because I've always only had male guinea pigs. Ever since I started getting guinea pigs, it started off with Ernest. And then when I moved out, I got him a companion because guinea pigs thrive and live best in herd. They're herd animals. But you can only have 2 males together because if you have a third, they start to fight. There's too much testosterone and it's just like bad for them. They'll fight. If I was to bring in a girl, they would continuously always fight for the girl. So in a herd, you can only ever have, like, I could have as many female as I wanted if I really wanted, but males, you can only have 1 or 2. So I have 2 males. I didn't want to deal with little babies, so I never got a female. and let's say you have like 5 females, you can't, it's really hard to have like 5 females and 2 males unless it's really dependent on the guinea pig, but if the guinea pig, they'll most likely fight. But as you can see, they have been getting along super well. Of course, the pea flakes do help, but they've been the sweetest little pair ever. And as I had said in my video where I introduced Gus, Gus has taken over. Gus is the top dog already. Marco is just too scared. He's just too shy of a guinea pig. And it took no time. The moment Gus got bigger, or just as big as Marco, I mean, he's still a little bit smaller, he just took over. What's going on? What are you smelling? So these are my 2 little guinea pigs, my 2 little boys. It's Tves and it's Tves. It's Tves. Hello. Hello. Gus, I think, is a mixed guinea pig. I've had a silky before, which is guinea pigs with really, really long hair. He has somewhat long hair, but it's mainly at his tush. The side hair isn't as long. Like Ernest was a long-haired guinea pig and his hair would grow all around, super, super long, and I had to give him like numerous haircuts. Whereas Marco is a American guinea pig. He's bigger because he's a lot older, but he's basically an American guinea pig. He has short hair all over, and he is also an albino guinea pig. That's why he has red eyes. Albino, oh, you need a nail trim. We're gonna trim your nails after this, huh? Yeah, we're gonna give him a nail, both of them. Guinea pigs kind of deal with albinoism a little bit differently, which is why his colors are so weird, which is why he has like this brown type of color and the red in his eyes. He is an albino. They're not always completely white. But yeah, that's why he kind of has weird washed out colors, because he's a little albino. I don't have, no more pea flakes. No more pea flakes. No, okay. Yes. Okay. We're gonna take you guys home. Let's bring them home. I just realized there was one question that I never really answered before, and it was, how exactly do you stash your yarn and your knits? I actually have them in the office where I work. So I have a library shelf that has all of my yarn in clear plastic bins so that I can visually see them, but at the same time they're protected from moths and bugs and just like dust and other things. So I keep them in there, and then I put little lavender sachets to really help again with the moths. I don't have moths, but I don't want them either. So I'm trying to be preventive before that happens. I also have cedar wood blocks that I put in my case because I do have a armoire for my knits. So in there I will also put some lavender sachets. I don't have any around me, but I'll put cedar wood cubes in there, which I will refreshen by sanding them down or adding cedar wood oil to them. That's kind of how I store my knits. I also classify them in winter, fall, and then spring and summer. That's how I categorize my knits, because I feel like fall, winter, you can wear the same things. Spring, summer, you can wear the same things more or less, but that's kind of how I separate my knits, and that's how I store my yarn. I am still trying to destash my yarn stash, so I'm trying to knit as much as I can right now to get the count down, because as you guys saw at the beginning of the year in my organize my yarn stash with me, I have a lot, or for myself I find it's a lot. I know some people have a lot more, and there's no shame to that. I just, cleaning out my yarn stash got way too overwhelmed with how much I do have, and I would like to be a little bit more, I want to knit with the yarn I have instead of always buying and adding to it. So I feel like I've been talking for an extremely long time. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed getting to know me a little bit better. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comment section down below, and I will answer you as best as I can, as quickly as I can. Thank you so much for everybody who asked questions. I'm really glad that there were questions. I was a little bit scared when posting a Q&A message that I wouldn't get any questions, but you guys did deliver. Thank you so much for being here. You mean the world to me, and I'm really happy to have this little community and just be able to share my world, my content with you guys, my knits, my projects, my fiber love, and I hope you have a lovely, beautiful day. Thank you so much. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye! And in case you're curious, I knit a row. I knew that this was gonna happen. Knit with me while I talk. Knits a row.